Oh man.
Okay, so Mr. Harrison Butker. Harrison Butker is the kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Yeah.
Um, and he is getting roasted for comments that he made at a commencement speech that many people are finding extremely distasteful. This guy's comments were perceived as so inflammatory that the NFL had to put out a statement
Hmm.
basically saying we do not condone the comments or agree with the comments of Harrison Butker. Like that they had to issue an official NFL statement distancing themselves from his comments. But essentially Harrison Butker gave a commencement speech at a college and he basically espoused about women's roles and it just got a lot of people mad because his comments are very much anti-feminist, anti-woman, or that's how they're being perceived. They're being perceived as very old-timey, old-fashioned, very 1930s, 40s ish, and a lot of people on the internet just are not here for that. So this article says after Harrison Butker's commencement speech, women are flooding the Kansas City Chiefs Instagram account with sarcastic, womanly duties comments you have to see for yourself. On May 11th, Kansas City Chiefs kicker Harrison Butker gave a commencement address to graduates from Benedictine College. Is that how you say that? Benedictine? Benedictine?
Hey, that Benedictine.
Benedict, Benedictine teen, Benedictine College. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, why not?
During his speech to the private Catholic liberal arts college in Kansas, he suggested Pride Month was a deadly sin, condemned
Okay.
abortion rights, and informed women that they had the most diabolical lies told to them. After he quoted a Taylor Swift song earlier in his speech, of course. He went on to speak about his wife, Isabel, claiming she would be the first to say that her life truly started when she began living her vocation as a wife and as a mother, and that he was able to be the man who he is because his wife embraced one of the most important titles of all, being a homemaker. After Harrison gave his speech, it not only garnered a direct response from the NFL stating that Harrison's views were not those of the NFL as an organization, but also widespread backlash from people across the country. But while a lot of people have vocalized their disgust about the commencement address on their own personal social media accounts, women have begun to leave sarcastic comments about their abilities as a woman directly on the Kansas City Chiefs Instagram account, and they're brutal in the best way possible. So here are some of those responses. So here's, this one says, I won't be able to attend any games for another 17 years as I will be completing my true vocation of rearing my children until then. I don't have a husband, so I guess I can't buy tickets since my life hasn't started. Wish I could watch my, which I should, wish I could watch, but my boyfriend said to stay in the kitchen making snacks. Are educated childless women allowed at the game? Sorry, my husband said I'm not allowed to watch men on TV. I am only allowed to look at him. Bummed I
That,
can't go bummed I can't go because I'll be staying in the kitchen. If my if my husband gives me permission to skip out on my wifey duties, I'll be at the game. What's football? I don't have a husband, so there's no thoughts going on in my head. That was
wow.
actually kind of funny. I was going to buy a jersey to support the team, but is my woman money okay to use? I hope I can see the TV from the kitchen. Sorry, can't make it since my life doesn't start until I get married, so I technically don't exist right now. I love watching games with my wife. Is that still allowed? I wanted to show this to my wife, but she's not allowed to read. Uh, these are some guys making these comments
Yeah,
here.
those guys there right there.
Am I allowed to know the schedule or should I be preparing dinner for my husband? Am I allowed to come to a Kansas City game with my dad or should I be feeding my 20 kids at home? So clearly, there's been a decent amount of backlash levied at Harrison Butker's feet because of his comments. I didn't actually see the commencement speech itself. I've just read a couple of excerpts. I don't know if there are any videos floating around the internet of the whole thing in full. If anyone knows that there are, feel free to leave a comment in the comments with the link so that I can check that out. But I didn't find that as of the time of us recording this stream. But yeah, this kind of went crazy. The NFL had to issue a statement. I am not at all surprised by that at all. I don't know if the Chiefs have issued a statement because I would imagine they would do the same thing. Don't know if this is going to affect this guy's career, but this is what they got going on currently. So, what do you make of this situation? What do you make of the backlash? Do you think all this is warranted? Too much? What's the deal with this?
Well, first of all, I want to know some of those ladies' acts. Just because I like their mindset, man. I never heard a woman talk so clearly before. But I'm pumped. Nah, but nah, just all jokes aside, man. Um, I watched the little ceremony thing. I watched what he had to say, and he's basically just standing on business as a Catholic man. His whole approach was, he's not playing around with his religion, and he's standing on doctrines. So by him standing on doctrines, there's a lot of traditional values in there. And so one of the things that he felt that was suitable to mention was that his wife's vocation is being at the house and rearing the children, being their primary educator. He gave a lot of props. But in today's modern world, uh, you really can't you can't advocate so much for traditional values. And this is the thing where I'm finding it hard for people to respect this because this was all a religion for it was all religion based. So this was he was doing this at a Catholic school. He's Catholic. He was standing on Catholic principles and he was talking to his peoples that agreed. And most people in the audience was, they were clapping and applauding and laughing throughout the thing. So the crowd didn't have a problem with it. But once the internet got their hands on it, they started throwing stones, tomatoes, and apparently very sarcastic comments. So the NFL had to step in. They had to distance themselves from this. Um, uh, it's kind of like undoing a lot of the good PR they got for the Swifties. It's crazy. It's the same team. So I don't know how that's going to play out. You don't want to cut this guy because he's damn good. So they're in a little funky situation there in Kansas City, but I think it's just bad PR. He will be labeled for the rest of his life. On TikTok, they were trying to find dirt on this guy, because there's a lot of people, because he slandered the LGBT community as well. So they started, investigating his life and trying to slander his name. So, but hey, man, the guy's standing on principles, and he believes that, in traditional values. So even if, because his whole thing was, basically like, for the sisters out there, even though y'all educated, y'all still have to know y'all role. And I don't see anything wrong with that. In a sense that yes, you can still be educated, but still understand that the home and the children are top priority. I don't see why that's such a problem. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Mr. Harrison Butker? Standing on business, just trying to be a regular Catholic man, standing on Catholic values and traditional values. Do you feel as though that he's out of pocket for standing on that? Or do you think that the people has a point here by basically saying that yeah, he's out of his mind?
I don't know if I will. I don't know how I feel about saying that the people are out of pocket or not. You know
Hmm.
how I feel about this stuff. I think,
Hmm.
you know, I think that if you espouse traditional values publicly, you're going to get criticized. I just think that I think that that's where we are in society.
Yeah.
You can, if you're going to express any idealism, like if you're going to express any sort of ideological ideology publicly, it has to be progressive.
Hmm.
If it's traditional, you're going to get criticized. Even though I just think that they're opposite sides. Like I just think if one side gets criticized, then both of them should get criticized. And if one side is okay and righteous, then the other side is okay and righteous, and people just disagree. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's how I see it. But clearly, you can say one thing and it's going to get criticized, and if you say the other thing, it won't. So I understand why the NFL had to do what they did, because the NFL as a corporation has to be perceived as being on the right side of history.
Mm-hmm.
And when you are a traditionalist, you're not perceived as being on the right side of history.
Correct.
Traditionalism is perceived as being on the wrong side of history in the corporate sense, in the corporate business sense. You can't be perceived as a traditionalist. I'm glad he doesn't work for companies like Disney, because he would have been fired. I firmly believe that if he worked for Disney, they would have fired him for these comments. But thankfully, he's a professional athlete. He works for and he's employed by the Kansas City Chiefs. And the Kansas City Chiefs are a private institution. They can make the decision whether he is to be disciplined or not, and they are not beholden to some corporate infrastructure which mandates that you got to fire people like that. Although, if the noise gets too loud, you never know what can happen. But at the end of the day, I agree with you from the standpoint that this is about context and nuance. And on the internet, context and nuance is largely lost. And so at first, when I saw those comments, I was like, "Ooh, he's going to have to answer for that for sure." But then when I read more into it and I saw that he was giving his speech at a college, liberal arts college in Kansas, I said to myself, "Oh, well, he's probably speaking to a like-minded crowd."
Correct.
So my thing is, like, if he's speaking to a like-minded crowd, like, and here's the thing that people need to understand, and more specifically, liberal-minded, progressive people. This is something that more of y'all need to understand. Is as loud as you are on the internet, and as much as your ideology reigns supreme on the internet, and as much as you run the internet itself, there's still a very decent segment of the population that believes in traditionalism, and that adheres to a lot of the things that Butker was talking about, and they agree with them. They're just not the ones who are on the internet talking about it, because they're living life and not espousing life.
Right.
So there's a lot of people who believe in this stuff, like whether you like it or not. There's a lot of people who agree with what he had to say, women included. There's women who do believe that a big part of their identity is being a wife and a mother. Now, you may disagree with that, and that's fine. But the
Right.
point is, there's a decent amount of people there's a decent amount of people around here who believe in that stuff, and they agree with what he had to say. So my thing is, context and nuance does have to be paid attention to somewhat. He didn't just do this of his own volition on his own social media channels.
Right.
He kind of did it within the context of speaking at the commencement speech for a liberal arts vocational school, a Catholic school in Kansas. Ain't that considered the Bible Belt?
Right.
Isn't that a part
Yeah.
of Bible Belt? So I would
Yeah.
imagine that a lot of people believe, like, think that kind of stuff is okay. And if you don't think that stuff is okay, because you think that the world is supposed to you think that most people should look at the world the same way that you look at it, then okay, that's fine. And so far, this is looking like a lot of people are making fun of him and cracking jokes, which I'm okay with. I just hope that this does not affect his livelihood and his career, because that's when my head is going to explode. So it kind of looks like it hasn't gotten to that point yet. But if we start looking at situations where he may get like cut, you know what I'm saying, and then he struggles to find another team to play for because he's deemed too toxic, all because he said this, that's when steam is gonna come out of my ears, and it's going to continue to prove to me that this, culture war that we're currently engulfed in is entirely one-sided when it comes to the internet. And you can express liberal points of view and be okay, but if you express conservative points of view, you're going to get criticized for it, crucified even. So far, to me, it's no harm, no foul, other than him being made fun of. But so long as it doesn't start to like infringe or possibly jeopardize his career, I'm okay with just basically commenting on the fact that he's going to get made fun of because he said traditional stuff. And if a person says progressive stuff, they'll just get applauded and cheered for.
Yeah. Bro's elite, man. So I'll be surprised if he gets phased out right now. He's he's one of the better younger kickers out there. So I would be surprised. And then yeah, I would be a little upset at some points, and I'll holler some type of collusion or something. Unless he has some massive fall off this year. Who knows? But yeah, man, I just think that this whole policing this social police that's going on right now, man. This is just wild business, man. We're just villainizing everybody, just because they don't share the same opinions. I'm all for standing up for stuff and having boundaries. Um, I just laid into Neil deGrasse Tyson earlier, man, because I don't agree with his scientific takes. You know, but at the same time, man, um, I'm willing to have a debate. I'm willing to have conversations with people or whatever. But there's this drop of a dime. What did he say? He's done. Like his whole life. Like, I'll call the league to protest. Like, I try to get him out of there. Like, there's people that's taking it there. Like I said, there's people that's already launched investigations on this man' whole life background. Trying to dig up dirt and all type of stuff just to invalidate his religious ideologies. And that was the
Well, I
crazy.
mean, it,
But
attempts to invalidate his religious ideologies are fine. What I care about is attempts to invalidate his livelihood. Like, so you think that because this man thinks this stuff, that he needs to be cut from teams, not have a career,
you're
he
right.
deserves to be, in effect fired. That's when it gets ridiculous.
Right.
And but I hear what you're saying though. But that's my thing. It's like, okay, fine. If you want to attempt to invalidate his ideologies, then okay. But you just want this dude to just like die, essentially is what you want now. Like, well, not saying, I'm just saying if it reached that point
Yeah.
where it's like now the Chiefs got to like maybe cut this guy, or maybe this guy now is going to struggle to maintain a career, that's going to be the crazy thing to me if it gets that far. That's insane.
But well, and that's what I'm saying. And it's all because of this mob mentality again. And so, I'm all for people uniting and standing for a cause, but there's like this lawlessness that's going on right now with it. It is concerning, man. How these masses can move in these ways. Well, somebody just had an opinion, man. So to me, it was harmless. To me, it was harmless. Those tweets were harmless, but I saw Instagram, like I said, Instagram, TikTok stuff where people going in and just trying to destroy his whole life because of what he thought. So I can see if this man did some wild action. His wife was in on it. She's cool with it apparently. So why y'all mad about it? So it's weird, man. But I just feel like this whole, it's Orwellian, bro, or what's the word? Orwellian, bro. This is some
Yeah,
1984 stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, man, and people are just out here policing everybody and trying to force them and bully them into ideologies. And
Hmm.
if I want to live traditionally and he wants to live traditionally, what's the harm? And she wants to live traditionally, what's the harm in this? You know? And so we're not breathing down y'all neck, so just leave us alone. It's madness, man. But yeah, I don't like the bullying, trying to bully everybody, because them trying to bully him is trying to bully not just him, it's the whole premise and the ideology of traditionalism. And that's the part about it that makes me upset. They're attacking that, and that I just feel as though there's other things to be worried about. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
crazy times,
Well,
dog.
it'll continue because it's okay to attack. It's okay to attack traditionalism. It's okay because you're perceived to be fighting the good fight when you attack traditionalism. You know, it's just okay to do it. So they'll keep doing it because there's no penalty. No one's going to say, "Hey, you guys need to pipe down," because it's like you're fighting against the bad guys by fighting against traditionalism or traditionalist ideals. Like that's what it's boiled down to. And my thing is like he didn't say this at some non,
Right.
Context has to matter, and nuance has to matter, even though the internet doesn't have time for these things. Nevertheless, they still have to matter. He did not say this at a public school. You know what I'm saying? He didn't say this at some kind of a public, non-denominational type event. He wasn't at a concert. He wasn't at a political rally. He wasn't at some other innocuous speaking engagement where the context behind that event isn't rooted in some kind of ideological leaning. He made these comments at the commencement speech of a Catholic school. So, at a Catholic school, I would imagine people who attend that school, a decent amount of them, believe in those tenets. And if they believe in those tenets, it's entirely appropriate for him to give those comments because he's around a like minded community. Who cares? So that's the thing. Like, it just gets taken and ran with in mainstream media, and now he's being vilified as a result. And it's like, where did he say these things? Under what context? Like, who was he talking to? Like, he wasn't giving these people mind control. They already believe this stuff. They've been raised on these tenets. So what are you so mad at? But it comes from the centralized notion that at any point we have to attack traditionalism. Now, when it comes to the LGBTQ stuff and like the A word stuff, I'm not going to comment on that because that's whatever.
Mhm.
Everybody has how they feel about those things. And if those are the hot button issues that people are criticizing, then fine. But many of the comments that I've seen in reaction to this have been about the comments he made about women's roles in society.
Mhm. Mhm.
And that's what people are the most triggered by.
Mhm.
And my thing is, if you disagree with that, fine. But you need to understand the world does not think like you. So if you're liberal minded and you hate his comments, that's okay. But there's a decent percentage of people in this country specifically who do believe who believe in those tenets. They just are. I'm sorry if I am sorry if that bothers you. I'm sorry if that offends you. I'm sorry if it upsets you that people believe in that stuff. But the truth is, they do. It is what it is. So, the attacks on the guy's character, the PI work, the investigations, whatever, fine. As long as his career isn't adversely affected, I'm just going to be able to live with this because I've just come to accept that that's what's going to happen when anybody says anything traditionalist. But the moment people start getting fired from jobs and careers, laid off, let go, cut, that's what pisses me off because now you can't even be a traditionalist and maintain a livelihood because you can literally put your livelihood in jeopardy just because you maintain traditionalist ideals. And to me, that is all out insanity.
Hey man, we gotta stop cyberbullying, man. This is bullying, bro. What they're doing to people, bro. This ain't right. But I agree, man. I had to laugh, bro, because we're getting to that point, honestly. So
Well, I mean, I think we're already there, man. I mean, I've
yeah.
cited my case studies. That's why I said, luckily he doesn't get. Luckily, he's not employed by an idealistic organization like Disney because he'd be done. You know, Gina Carano said, if you're a traditional person in this country, you get persecuted. As people who got persecuted during atrocities back in the day, and she got fired for that. She got fired for saying that. You can disagree with it if you want. Maybe you think the analogy was in poor taste, but she gets fired for that. She's on a popular TV show and now she's let go just because she said that. That's crazy to me. So we're already there. And I'm just kind of sitting back waiting to see if this progresses to that point because it could.
Hey, good luck, Harrison, man. Yeah, man, I be picking him up in fantasy, bro. You know what I'm saying, bro, official. He done won me some cash before, so hey, keep it going, man, and keep it traditional, sir. Keep it traditional. My wife's vocation is being in the house. That boy, wow. Uh,
Oh man. Can you imagine? I guarantee you when he woke up that morning, he was so excited to give that speech
he was ready to
because in
nail
his
him.
in his in his head, he just knew that there was nothing wrong with what he was saying. And
Nah,
and now to be dealing with all of this fallout, he's probably like, "What the hell did I say?"
I felt like because the way he was talking, I felt like he wanted to drop truth bombs. I just don't think he thought it was going to get like this. So
Yeah.
yeah, he did not. He didn't. He definitely, I don't think, anticipated this backlash. I think he was just like, yeah, I'm that guy that stand on business. And it's just like, hey man, hey bro, this
Yeah.
2024, dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
You can stand on business if you want, but you're gonna lose checks.
hey, hey man.
Yeah.